pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Survival of No Limits. And so, let us begin, once again, with another new section, with another topic that I will be talking about for today. And that particular topic is going to be number 68, music choices. Yeah. That's probably where that question of what does this have to do with survival should appear yet again. So I might as well give out a good explanation why this is now an inclusion in Survival of No Limits. So let's just get on into it. When we think of music, we generally think of an entire world dedicated to such high-end talent. Talent, of course, that is divided between millions and even billions of people throughout history. There have been lots of ways that we have potentially entertained ourselves as the time went on. But the time sure has lots of ways of making ourselves feel better about ourselves in all certain ways. And one certain way would be getting to know about certain people, whether they are a solo artist or they are a band. There have been lots of ways that have kept us on our toes, wondering who could be the best artist in history. And a lot of people to this day have pretty much gone ahead to debate whether or not there is in fact the greatest singer of all time. Some people might say it's Michael Jackson, especially because of albums like Thriller and Dangerous and This Is It. Some people might also think of PSY from Korea because of the Gangnam Style music video from 2012, which isn't even 10 years old, but it's made over 4 billion views on YouTube. And some people might also be talking about the artist who released the single Driver's License, which here in 2021 just so happens to be the greatest song ever. More often than not, I still have no entire idea, at all, how Driver's License apparently got this popular overnight. Anybody could pretty much make a song and somehow it could gain billions of views on YouTube and help the person make billions of dollars by downloads and copies being sold off all over the place. But apparently Olivia Rodrigo and the song Driver's License here in 2021 has apparently become the top hit of all time. To me, I don't even know how that happened or why that happened. That's extremely overrated stuff. I mean, that's also pretty random. Sure, Michael Jackson may be dead, but man, people still love the kind of music that guy did throughout the past 40, 50 years or so. And a lot of people will always recognize PSY for, at the time, being the greatest thing that ever happened in internet history. For the Gangnam Style dance, of course. And then, of course, we also will not forget the fact that the Cha-Cha Slide back in 2000 is still a big cult hit even to this day. And then, of course, we have Despacito from 2019, Happy by Pharrell Williams, as well as a song by Usher from 2004. There's hit after hit after hit that continues to be played even to this day. But apparently, Olivia Rodrigo's Driver's License apparently is the top hit of all time. How is that possible? To me, that is so baffling and it's impressive. How did a song from recent times apparently get this much popularity overnight when anybody could have gotten that popular overnight? Anybody! PSY, of course, is still recognizable even now that exact artist is now retired from music. And then, of course, Michael Jackson died. And then, of course, we happen to worry about many others who are also very popular, like Elton John, Randy Newman, Melissa Etheridge, and, hundreds of others. But if I'm ever going to have any sort of music in my life, then I'm sticking to alternative rock. If I were to go name some bands, pretty much, to accompany this exact genre, especially from the past 30 to 40 years, then just a few that I'll probably name off the top of my head would be All American Rejects, Smash Mouth, Plain White T's, All Time Low, Death Cab for Cutie, Anne Boleyn, as well as, well, Bush, Crush 40, and, well, some other picks here and there. I can't really say I'm not really into everybody, and that's for sure. Because it's mostly because of a mixture of a few different things. One, the tempo pretty much has to be just right. Having it at a much, much higher rate than normal would not at all be worthwhile. Because who on earth would be able to perform guitar riffs that are as fast as 585 BPM? Who knows? And if there's a second thing, then well, it's the duration. A healthy 2 minutes 30 seconds to maybe up to 5 minutes at most would probably be alright. I'm definitely not really going to settle for something that's as short as 10 seconds or as long as 20 minutes. Because I've seen a lot of songs actually that actually are that short or that long. And this is mostly dependent on the artist or band at hand or even the composer. Because I've gotten to know a lot of composers as well. I've already mentioned Hans Zimmer and Randy Newman and Elton John, as they are in fact known to have compositions in their life and not just regular discography. But of course, if I'm going to name some other composers out there, then well, Raymond Djawadi, Lorna Balfa, Pinar Toprak, and of course, who could forget Michael Abels, who composed the soundtrack for Us from 2019. And that was incredible of a soundtrack. Not necessarily a great movie, but still an awesome soundtrack by all means. So that's just kind of what I have to lay down in a nutshell with that in mind. But if there is in fact one thing that I'm certainly going to have to talk about at this moment that relates to this, then well, it would be for things that I would certainly not like on any given day. If I were to go name a few genres, then well, let's go ahead and list some of them. Country, metal, rap, hip-hop, thrash, punk, Americana, and yeah, pretty much all that stuff in mind. I'm forever against abusing. Music that does in fact abuse us. It becomes a bad influence in our lifetimes. And I've always referred to music like that as abusing, certainly because of a number of things. I've done a lot of digging, and hopefully you don't have to get angry at me about this just because I have a solid disagreement on all this, but I am in fact willing to provide as much evidence as I can possibly do so. Country, metal, and rap. I'm going to start with country right off the bat. It's outdated. Something that we would never want to go back to. Because the thing is, it is as old of a genre as American history has ever possibly become. Because its right place would probably be as far back as the 19th century. For it to somehow carry on all the way to the present is beyond me. But when it comes to some of the others, that's where I feel like I need to put my foot down, draw the line in the sand, and continue onwards with my rants, if you want to call them that. But no, these are just facts that I myself am known to talk about on a daily basis. So country's outdated. As a result, it does not need to be here anymore. But when it comes to rap and metal, which were both around since the 90s, with rap, this is basically something that had been invented by gangsters as a way to tear the nation apart. When it comes to something like that, with something that cusses, with something that allows suggestive dialogue or even straight up not safe for work related things out there, And then, of course, there's always the typical sort of thing like offenses, racism, obscenity, slurs. Anything could ever be said coming out of a modern day rap title or hip hop title. But if there's something out there that really is more annoying than just, well, the typical sort of thing where it doesn't sound harmonious when the vocalist starts putting out vocals in the song, then, well, it'd be the fact that most of the vocals in today's rap music, they try to be harmonious, like real music, actual music that is not considered abusive by my standards, but it's really not. It's still officially labeled as the genres hip-hop and rap, without a doubt. That's more annoying than can ever possibly be around. And considering how hip-hop and rap somehow remains a big spectacle in today's lifestyle, I don't even know what else to say about that. It should have stayed in the early to mid-90s and probably stick around to the 2000s, where Eminem's best album, Business, had apparently been around in, and then after that it should have just died out, when most of us knew that it was as terrible as possible. That's the whole reason why we now have ourselves explicit stickers. The stickers, of course, that say parental advisory, explicit content. It's a reason why we have that to begin with. But why do that when we could just simply have all that removed from existence? Why go through all that effort when there's a much easier way to do this? So, I'm still not done here, aren't I? No, I gotta move on to metal, which was originally derived from thrash music, first started in the early to mid 80s, mostly thanks to bands like Iron Maiden, Metallica, and even Suicidal Tendencies. And that genre was already derived from another genre, punk rock. And of course, punk rock is more or less functional when you compare it to actual rock itself. But metal, of course, takes things even higher up on notches when you compare it to thrash. Thrash practically set up the example for high-tempo based riffs and extreme sounds, as well as more demonic vocals that have been set upon. But eventually, of course, they got even worse by the time the 90s came by and also went. But once again, this is where I should bring up the fact that metal as a whole, or as it was just called back then, heavy metal, is just terrible by all means. It's, again, a terrible influence, not just on the brain and body, but also on the way that an actual artist would be able to play music by any means. First of all, how could someone play a song with as extremely high tempos as possible? I mean, 500, 600 BPM? That's ludicrous by any means. I myself am not known to play songs like this because, one, I dislike them, and two, that's almost impossible to pull off. How could I strum a guitar, like seriously? How could I strum that quickly without messing up? There was no way. But it gets even worse when we talk about the vocals. The vocals, of course, that just relay from extreme rage and nothing more, nothing less. It might seem like a stereotype now, but just wait until you hear something by certain artists and bands out there like Five Finger Death Punch, Hammer Smash Face, and Lordy and all that. Man, I hate having to name them just so I can move on with this. But you know what? I feel like it was just better to lay out my honesty behind this. So at this point in time, let's consider the fact that music is music. It is an art that everybody can participate in, whether they're able to actually play instruments or they can just simply have an app on their computer that allows them to do compositions. That seems to be where I'm best at, compared to a lot of people who still play actual instruments that cost hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars just to have maintained at all times. So, I just prefer to do it the more easier way, as well as the more practical way. So, well, that's just pretty much what that's about. So, hopefully, you guys are going to continue watching my content, no matter what it is. And I'm certainly going to be coming back with some other things, so let's just keep that in mind as well. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.